The NCAA tournament officially gets started today. We got a few games today on the docket. First 4 matchups. So I'm going to give you guys one side in the games today and then also talk a little bit about an NBA player prop. And then I'm going to give you guys my first national champion pick of the year. So this way we can lock in our first future for at least the national champion. We're going to get all into that today. Whole lot of college basketball and hoops action. This is the free 3. Let's get into it.
I love it, Noble. Noble, I also love your YouTube videos. I watched them while I was gone. That was fire.
But getting paid because yesterday we had a full sweep. Mike going under, that was just icing on the cake. Why are we going to go in such a weak AFC South? Unless we have the NBA Blowout Association.
Bang! Knicks take a 1-point lead with 13 seconds.
When you hear the sirens, you know what that means.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
Happy Tuesday and first day of the NCAA tournament, my friends. It is your boy Noble Living back with another DYF Bets video where I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we just try to get to the bag together and make some money. I do apologize about not having a video yesterday. I was traveling a little bit, but after the weekend that we had, I'm sure you guys weren't complaining too much. If you followed us here on the channel or at Noble Living on the Action Network, then you got all of my plays, and we've been absolutely printing here on the channel. We've been doing great with the money line parlays. It was a great conference tournament season, but now it is time for the actual dance, the big one itself, the actual tournament. And I'm going to come out with a special video where I'm breaking down my bracket, some of the marquee matchups, and how I compiled my bracket and my national champion. But in today's video, I'm going to give you guys my first future. So I'm going to put 2 national champion futures in. I'm going to lock those in. So I'm going to give you guys my first one today alongside my first prediction in the first 4 matchups. All right, so let's dive into today's slate real quickly, and we're gonna do a recap real fast before we do that, before we dive into the slate, about how we've been doing. Like I said, on the channel, we've been doing very, very well here recently. You could see here over the last week, we're up over $1,000, and these are $100 units that we're betting here, or 1 unit is $100. So to see $1,000 up over the last 7 days, you love to see that. Over the last month, we're close to $3,000 being up. Yesterday was another 2-in-1 day. If you did not tap into the show, I didn't have an official video, but I did put out a graphic, so hopefully you guys were able to get that. But over the last few weeks and over the weekend, we did pretty well. I'm not going to break down every parlay that we did over the weekend, but the moneyline parlays have been cashing in for us. You can see on Sunday, we took 3 little quick bets. Yale, Florida, VCU, that cash. We took Yale's team total, that cash. We did the 2-team parlay of Yale and VCU first half. Then you can see here we did Akron, Cornell on Saturday, VCU, Memphis, Houston on Saturday. So we've really been able to get these different parlays cooking, and that's been treating us really well. And then yesterday, we were able to still go 2-in-1 on the day. We did cash in on a money line parlay with Detroit Pistons on the money line, and then the Tampa Bay Lightning. We threw a little hockey in there, so that was we're 2-0 on hockey picks this year on the channel, so you love to see that. We did lose on Miles McBride over 2.5 3-pointers, and then Luka under 32.5. He had 16 points in the first half. He finished with 21, so no sweat bet there. We get that done. So 2-in-1 day yesterday officially. You love to see it. And as we move into today's card, we woke up with a cash as well. I don't know if you guys saw. If you've been following us here on the Action Network, we're 1-0 on the day. We cashed in on an early morning Nerfy, so make sure you guys are getting your post notifications turned on because the Nerfy season is here. If I have any OG viewers or any people who've been a big fan of the channel for over a year or so, then you know in baseball season we go absolutely crazy with the Nerfies here, and I expect us to make a lot of money today doing that. Or not today, this year doing that. So for today's picks, guys, let's dive into the board real quickly. Let's talk about the NBA real fast. A few games that we have on the slate. I like this Cavaliers-Clippers game late night. I think that's going to be a great game alongside the Bucks and Warriors, and that's where I'm going to go for my first pick of today. You can see that we have a spread about 3.5. The line moved in favor of the Bucks. It opened up at 2.5 in favor of the Warriors, but now the Bucks are favored. Probably some injury news because of that. The Warriors have been playing excellent basketball ever since Jimmy Butler's been traded to them. I think they're like 8-1 or something like that. That's like 9-10 games. They've been absolutely stellar. Great to see it. I love them. I think the Warriors can have a chance to, compete for a title this year. I know it sounds crazy, but we've seen crazier things. And one of the picks I'm going to look at for today is actually going to be on Doink Sports. We're going to go to a player prop, and we're going to go with Mr. Kyle Kuzma, and we're going to go over 12.5 points. Now, I know this is an ugly pick. This is not a pick that most people maybe be in favor with, considering the fact that he's only gone over this number in 4 of the last 10 games, including missing it in 4 straight games. He had 9 points against the Pacers, 11 points against the Lakers, another 8 against the Pacers, and 10 points against OKC in the last game out. But the thing that I'm liking to see with Kuzma, especially on this Bucks team, is he is stepping up as like the third scorer. So obviously Dame is the number 1 with Giannis, and then he's kind of filling in for that Middleton role. And we can see here that he's averaging about 32 minutes per game or so over the last 10 games. So that means that he's on the court. His usage percentage could be a little bit higher. It's only about 18%, but we've seen games where he's gotten 21% here, 20% here, 18% there. So there are games where his usage is going up. But another reason why I like Kyle Kuzma here in this situational spot today is not only because he hasn't hit this number in 4 straight games, but also his success against the Golden State Warriors. So you can see that he's faced off against the Warriors 2 times already this season. He had 21 back last month on February the 10th. He had 22 against them on January the 18th. And if you look at the last 5 games against them dating back to last season, he's gone over this number of 12.5 points 4 of the last 5 times. He's averaging 18.5, close to 19 points per game against the Warriors. So you love to see that. And then this game on the February the 10th, you might be saying to yourself, Noble, well, were these games a part of the Wizards, or were these games against a part of the Bucks? This February 10th game, you can see right here, was when he was a member of the Bucks. So it's not just the Wizards team where he had the ultimate green light and he could just shoot the ball 50 times a day game. This is a game where he had to be efficient. You can see 6 of 9 from the field, 0 of 1 from the 3-point line. You'd like to see a little bit more there, but overall he's still getting but overall he's still averaging about 15 attempts per game against the Warriors. And then when you also look on the other side about how the Warriors defensively have been doing against small forwards, you can see that they've given up on average 18 points per game to small forwards. They've gone over this number in 7 of the last 10 games. But one thing that I do like is similar opponents. Michael Porter Jr., 21 points. DeMar DeRozan, 23 points. Danny Avdija, 34 points. OG Anunoby, 29 points. So similar players to what Kyle Kuzma does, which is shoot the 3 ball. You're your third person. Like Michael Porter Jr., he's the third scorer on that Nuggets team. And that's really what the Warriors look to do defensively. I'm expecting Draymond and Jimmy to be kind of focused on Giannis and Dame respectively. They also have the Warriors also have the young guards there as well, like Gary Payton, who can switch off as well. So I think the goal for the Warriors is going to be really neutralizing Giannis and Dame, and that opens up the floor for somebody like Kuzma. And we could see here the Warriors have been susceptible against small forwards. I showed you the numbers that Kuzma has against the Warriors as well. And then another thing that I do like is if you look at Giannis's line, even though he's gone over his points line in 6 of the last 10 games, you could see against defending power forwards, the Warriors are very strong defensively. Only 2 of the last 10 opponents have gone over their point total. You can see from a rebound perspective, none of them have gone over. From an assist percentage, only none of them have gone. Well, this is Giannis's line at 6.5, but still, they're only giving up on average 2.5 assists to power forwards, 6 rebounds to power forwards, and 26.5 PRA. And you got a guy like Giannis whose PRA is at 47.5. I'm not telling you to take the under, but I am saying that I think the defense is going to be heavily focused on these guys, which opens up the floor for somebody like Kuzma. And then I also, last little tidbit here, is when these two teams faced off, I showed you guys the game log back on February the 10th. You can see here the Warriors were, the Bucks, were 7-point underdogs in that game. Well, they did not cover the spread. They lost that game pretty handily by 12, 13 points there at home, though. So for me, even though they're on the road and they're the favorite today, that's a little bit of a head scratcher. So that makes me think that the books think they're going to win this game. And if they're going to win this game, it's either a monster performance from Giannis or Dame, or you have role players stepping up. Kuz, 12.5 points. That's not asking for too much. We're going to lock that in for our first best bet of the day here. Kyle Kuzma over 12.5 points. You can see that we can get that for about, to risk 1 unit. So not too bad. Minus 110 there for our first best bet. Now, our second pick of the day, guys, is going to be in the college basketball board, and we're going to lock in our first future for the national championship. I was making my bracket last night, this morning, and I finished it. I did a video, so my editor is working on that right now, so be on the lookout for that video tomorrow or tonight about my official kind of breakdown of the bracket. But my first team that I think has a chance of winning the national championship, I don't have them on my official bracket of winning, but I do have them in the Final Four, is a team that I did not take Final Four futures on. So I like the way that I'm hedging off of this, right? If you guys don't know, we have 7 teams right now, really 8 teams locked into to make it to the Final Four. We can go over that tomorrow. But our first national championship team that we're locking in here on the channel is going to be Florida to win the national championship at plus 380. You can see you get plus 450 on FanDuel. So plus 380 is the consensus, so we're going to do that. We're locking this in for a quarter unit down at plus 380. Now, there are a lot of stats that you guys can read about when it comes down to like national championships and how to draw up your bracket and all that good jazz, right? You can read up on all the analysis and different things. But one of the stats that stuck out to me when I was kind of crafting up my bracket was when you look at the national champion, 13 of the past 17 champions have been a number 1 seed, right? And since 2002, when KenPom started tracking the numbers, 21 of the 22 national champions have finished top 25 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. So what teams fit that criteria? We have Auburn, they're a 1 seed. We have Duke, they're a 1 seed. We've got Houston, they're a 1 seed. We've got Florida, they're the 1 seed. So all 4 1 seeds fit the criteria of a 1 seed to win the national championship 13 of the last 17 times, and then also are top 25 in offensive and defensive efficiency. The only other teams that the criteria fit that are not a 1 seed are Tennessee, Iowa State, and Clemson. We already have a Final Four future on Clemson. We have a Final Four future on Houston. You see how we're kind of hedging off of some of these things? So for us, we're going to go Florida to win the national championship because to me, they are one of the best 1 seeds. I like Auburn, but I don't like how they've been playing recently. I like a few other teams, and we're going to see that in my college basketball breakdown. But for us, I think at plus 380, plus 450, the odds value that we're getting for Florida to win the national championship is awesome. It's truthfully the best value odds that we're going to get. Duke, I don't know why they're favored to win the national championship. You can see Auburn as the number 1 overall seed. They're not even favored to get the number 1 to win the national championship. So I like that. And the second team that we're going to lock in, you got to watch the video that I'm going to drop on the channel. So tune in for that. So our third and final pick of the day is going to be our first 4 best bet of what we're going to go with. You guys know we've been doing moneyline parlays. No reason to go away from it. It's been cashing in for us. This is my lean. First and foremost, I don't bet the NIT really. You don't know who's motivated. You don't know who's not. You don't know what teams care. You don't know what players care, especially now in the NIL era. It might be more on the line. There might not be. I typically tend to just watch the NIT games until it gets to Madison Square Garden. And then at that point, I typically tend to bet it. And it normally aligns around the time where like after the opening weekend in college or the NCAA tournament, you can like rest a little bit because you don't have games all day, every day, because now we're in the Sweet 16, we're in the Elite 8, right? So typically that's when I start betting at NIT. So keep that in mind. If I see, I'll do some leans like with the CBI and NIT early. If I see some things, then we might add it to the card later on. But I just wanted to give you guys that caveat. So for us, when we look at just the NCAA tournament games, we have St. Francis and Alabama State, and then we also have UNC and San Diego State. I don't have a read in San Diego State, North Carolina. I might have one later on. I lean the over. I don't think either of these teams should be in the tournament, so I don't care to really bet this game. But I would take San Diego State at like plus 4.5, plus 5.5. Do with that information that you will. But for me, the game that we're going to look at is St. Francis of PA and Alabama State. You can see Alabama State is favored by 3.5 points. It opened up at 2.5. We're getting a little bit of value here. So what are we locking in? Alabama State on the money line. And then we're going to go back to hockey. And we're going to go Dallas Stars on the money line. Dallas Stars are a huge favorite at minus 350. They're a huge favorite. I don't know too much about Dallas. I know they don't lose a lot of games at home. They're at home today against the Ducks. If you don't want to take Dallas Stars because you don't trust my hockey analysis or whatever, that's fine. You can go to the NBA, take the Celtics on the money line. You can maybe take the Hawks on the money line. I don't trust that. So I would either go Celtics on the money line, Dallas Stars on the money line, another big favorite in hockey, or if you go to the college basketball slate and you want to take something in the NIT because you're just a degenerate, then I would take a look at Stanford. I think they can win, and I would look at Oklahoma State. I think they'll win. All like the bottom teams are the home teams, and all of them play at home in the first round of the NIT. So the Oklahoma State is going to have a true home game. But again, I'm not betting on that. We're just going to go with these two teams here for the money line parlay. So let's talk about St. Francis and Alabama State real quick. Alabama State, they were a shocker out of the SWAC. So I mentioned the SWAC is one of those leagues where normally the top team wins. So if we look here at the conference standings here, you can see Alabama State finished 4th. We have Southern, we have Jackson State. Southern got upset in the first round. We lost on them. And then Jackson State lost in the championship game to Alabama State, and they had the lead. Alabama State is not a bad team. They were not expected to win the conference, but they're pretty decent. And the reason why they're pretty decent is because this number right here, 5th in turnover percentage on the offensive side. They don't turn over the ball a lot. They play really, really fundamental offense. They don't have the scores that a Power 5 program does, but just because you can't score, if you don't turn over the ball, you can keep yourself in a game. But they also force deep turnovers on the defensive side. You can see they're 91th in turnover percentage on the defensive side. So for a program of their size, they have one of the largest disparities in all of college basketball in terms of offensive turnovers, and then also defensive turnovers caused. And I think that's going to be the difference in this game. Shout out to St. Francis of PA for being able to go on a streak at the end of the regular season, just like Alabama State did. You can see they won 3 games in the conference tournament before winning 3 games prior. But St. Francis is a team, guys, that if you look at the Northeast standings, they were not supposed to be here. I'm being honest. Why? Because our Central Connecticut boys, the Blue Devils up there, they were printing us coin all season. 25-7 on the year. They went 14-2 in conference. The only problem was they lost the biggest game of the year at home. And it was a great performance for St. Francis. Shout out to them for getting the upset. But it was an upset. And they had to upset several teams like LIU, like Central Connecticut to get there. And when you look at the fact that they won a combined 3 games by 9 points, 58-55, 71-68, 46-43, you literally got by the skin of your teeth. And when you look here that the last 3 regular seasons for that games for them in the regular season ended in overtime, you literally got by the skin of your teeth. But you did your job. You made it to the big dance. And now reality sets in. Why? Because you know this is where the story ends. Like, you did what nobody thought you were going to do. You beat a Central Connecticut team, and you won the only way you could win that game, which is winning it 46-43. That is the score that you expect to see of a JV high school game, not of a D1 college basketball team. So because of that, they did what they had to do. They made the game muddy. They mucked it up. But the problem is, Alabama State is not going to shoot themselves in the foot like Central Connecticut did in terms of missing easy shots and turnovers. You can see here that St. Francis, they're the only team in the bracket, 1, that's not over 500, but 2, look at this turnover percentage. I just showed you what Alabama State does on the defensive side. You can see this team turns over the ball 321st in all of college basketball. That doesn't just go away. Now, finding out ways to win games like this, shout out to you guys. But again, now that the work of actually making it to the tournament's done, that's where it ends. Ken Palm has this as a 2-point loss for them. I could not agree with it more. I believe Alabama State is the better coach team. They like the Cinderella run for St. Francis already happened already. Both of these teams, I think Alabama State from a pressure standpoint can surprise a lot of people. So I'm going Alabama State with Dallas Stars. I'm also going to go Alabama State in the first half as well. They're the much better team. I think they can win this game by double digits. So for me, if you want to lay the 2.5, 3.5 as a single play, be my guest. But we're going to lock in Alabama State here on the money line and pair that with Dallas Stars on the money line. And that's really just because money line parlays have been printing for us pretty consistently. So this is what we're going with for today, my friends. Alabama State on the money line, Dallas Stars on the money line. That gets you to plus 100 odds value. Our second best bet is going to be Florida to win the national championship at plus 380. That is a future that we're locking in. We're going to go Kyle Kuzma over 12.5 points. You can see that we get at minus 110 odds. We already won our Nerfy of the day. We cashed that in this morning. And then I might have an additional play in the UNC San Diego State game, but I do lean San Diego State plus the points. I do lean the over in the game as well. I think if North Carolina wins the game as a favorite, they're going to have to outscore San Diego State. They're not going to be able to win that game in a half-court setting. North Carolina likes to drive the ball inside, but that's what San Diego State does best. They defend the interior. So it's going to be very interesting to see how those two teams play. And if these bets cash in early, then there's probably no need to put any money on that game, in all honesty. We just watch as a fan. So that's what we're going with today, my friends. And then we'll lock in a few more best bets for tomorrow, all right? Come back tomorrow. I'll drop a video a little bit later of what my official bracket looks like and my official national champion. And we'll lock in that future as well. And then if there's any bracket pools or anything that you guys are a part of, tournament or office tournament brackets or whatever, I don't care what the buy-in is. $50, $25, I'll play. Just shoot me a message. Let me know if you need an extra person. I'll join in. I'm trying to join as many brackets as possible. So let's have a day, guys. Let's enjoy March and the first day of the tournament, guys. Let's go. Let's have a day, and I'll see you on tomorrow's video. Later, gang.